Okay, get over there.
Go ahead.
Ready? All right, let's get started. Let's call this meeting to order. February 20th, 2024, it is 7:03. It's the Elbert County Planning Commission. Could we all please stand and for a prayer and a pledge? So I'll lead the prayer. I tend to, dear Jesus, everybody asks for help for everybody that's here, everybody who made this journey. I ask that he listen to your prayers, your issues, I know you've got friends, relatives, whatever, going through things, maybe yourself. So I ask that Jesus listen to and help every one of your concerns. And that after this, you have a safe trip home. So with that, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Okay, if we could do a roll call, please.
Danny Wilcox.
Here.
Kevin Kirkwood.
Here.
Van Sands. Here. Eric Carlson. Here. Mike Buck. Mike Buck. Absent. Dee Dee Schott Grace. Dee Dee Schott Grace. Absent. Robert Politic.
Here.
John Gresham. Here. Chair, that concludes the roll call, and you have quorum.
Thank you. Okay, staff report on Board of County Commissioners' actions pertaining to matters. Do we have anything?
One update here, there was Spring Valley Ranch filing 10 final plat, and that was approved February 14th by the Board of County Commissioners. That was the only item.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Consent agenda items, do we have anything?
There are no consent agenda items.
Okay, now we come to citizen comments. Now this section of the meeting is for citizen comments unrelated to any application, because you'll have the opportunity to speak when we get into the application process. So, is there anything out there? Seeing none. Okay, on to the next one. We have meeting minutes to approve. So, did we look through them? Did you? Okay. Can I have a motion to possibly approve them?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay.
Second.
Second? Okay. So, based on the motion and a second, so we'll forego reading through them. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Now we're going to go into our public hearing process. I'll just give you a little bit of an overview. We are, and kind of how it's going to go. We're a volunteer group. We're appointed. We're a quasi-judicial board. And what that means is that we judge the application based on the codes and the ordinances that were in place at the time. That is our goal, okay? Not to change, amend, or do anything, just to look at it and compare it to the codes. The next part is the hearing process goes. The county, CDS, will present the application. Then we'll ask the applicant to present their side of it. And then what we'll ask for is we'll ask for citizen comments related to the application. After we close out citizen comments, then what we'll try to do is after we close those out, we'll bring the applicant back up and our staff, they're there, and we'll see if we can address some of the concerns that were brought forward during the citizen comments. So that will give you kind of an idea of what we need to do to, okay. With that, It can end in three ways. Either way, the application goes forward to the commissioners. Okay, we can vote to recommend approval. We can recommend denial. We can recommend approval with conditions. So that's the three options we have. And I say recommend because that's all we as a board can do. All right, so at this point, I think we'll get started. And due to the fact that I actually kind of live in the area, right next to a number of you folks, so I'm going to recuse myself so this can go through because I got a letter too as far as this application. So then at this time, Kevin will take over.
Thank you.
All right.
And we're ready for staff presentation.
All right, Kevin, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Danny Klebanner. I'm a land use planner here for Elbert County and the Community and Economic Development Department. Tonight, we'll be hearing the Phantom Creek rezone case number P-2023-00039. And this is the first application, and then there will be one for a preliminary plat following this presentation. So to jump right in here, the details of this application, it's a request for rezoning, and the request is to rezone from agricultural to agriculture residential. The location is part of Section 16, Township 7 South, Range 64 West, the 6th PM, County of Elbert, State of Colorado. The applicant and owner in this is Mike Brownson and Phantom Creek Development, LLC. So the process for this started back in February of 2022 with a pre-application meeting. Followed by that, in October of 2022, there was a community meeting. The formal application was officially submitted and deemed complete in May of 2023. Here we are for Planning Commission February 20th, 2024, and there is a Board of County Commissioners date scheduled for March 13th. All public hearing noticing complied with Elbert County zoning regulations and Elbert County subdivision regulations 14-day advance notice with posting in Ranchland News, a quarter-mile radius mailing, and an on-site sign posting. So here is an overview of the location of the property. South of 166 and east of County Road 13, it's about 5 miles from Elizabeth, in a relatively more populated area of the county, just miles from several other large subdivisions like Independence, Spring Valley Ranch, Deer Creek Ranches, Thunder Hill, etc. So here's a little bit closer look of the property. You have the subject property outlined there in the dark brown, and you can see the surrounding area surrounded mostly by agriculture here. Here's a closer view of the property, and here we're really zooming into the property. You can see County Road there, 21, and Pronghorn Avenue, and then to the south there's the tree-lined driveway there. So this is a better view of the property. This rezone went through a referral process. It actually went through several referral process segments. The initial one is 3 weeks, and that took place from June 1st to the 27th. And these agencies all commented on the project and gave us feedback, which was acknowledged and resolved during this referral process. The agencies include the Elizabeth Fire District, Colorado Division of Water Resources, Kiowa Conservation District, Core Electric, CenturyLink, Elbert County Assessor's Office, the GIS Analyst, Elbert County Public Works, our Elbert County engineer, who at the time is Kimley Horn, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, Colorado State Geological Survey, and CDOT. So, in Elbert County, Article 3C4 outlines the regulations that we consider for all rezoning requests. And there are 6 criteria that the Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners are asked to look at when they view this application. And I will get into these 6 criteria now. So the first is A, whether this proposed rezoning conforms to and is generally consistent with the goals of Elbert County's comprehensive plan. So this proposal does conform and is generally consistent with the goals and policies of our comprehensive plan. The residential development policy is to preserve open space and preserve the rural character of Elbert County through development along existing corridors and within a mile of county roads. This community resources topic area, a second point, states that new development shall conform to state laws covering domestic water supply and septic system. This proposal should comply with that policy. In addition, the natural resources topic area states that new development should minimize negative impacts to adjacent agricultural lands and designated open space. This policy conforms to that and was referred to Colorado Parks and Wildlife, a further policy in our comprehensive plan. B, whether the proposed rezoning is compatible with surrounding land uses. The subject property is in a relatively more developing part of the county. There are 4-acre lots directly adjacent to this property. The area is a mix of larger agricultural and residential properties, along with some smaller lot residential and PUD land uses. This rezoning to agriculture residential should not impact surrounding land uses. C, whether the proposed rezoning would adversely impact the provision of public services. This development will provide a private road to serve 8 of the 10 lots. The other 2 lots will be served by private driveways connecting directly to County Road 21. This development will also provide open space with trail access. There should be no adverse impacts to public services in the area. D, whether the proposed rezoning would adversely impact the environment. The rezoning should not adversely impact the environment. Building permit review with Public Works and septic review for on-site wastewater treatment systems with public health can identify site-specific factors upon development of the lots. The Division of Water Resources reviewed this proposed well water supply and deemed it adequate. Colorado Parks and Wildlife noted the benefit of the open space and that parcel B would remain at 35 acres and would benefit wildlife in the area as well. The development will also work with topography and no building areas with 20% slope or greater. Colorado Parks and Wildlife also offered guidance on wildlife-friendly fencing. E, whether the proposed rezoning would create unreasonable traffic congestion or burden the existing road system without improvements. The addition of the proposed lots is not believed to create unreasonable traffic burdens to the existing road system. Phantom Creek Circle will serve the majority of the lots. The developer has also offered to help maintain the existing private road, Pronghorn Avenue, up to Phantom Creek Circle. And that will be something we talk about more with the preliminary plat, the maintenance of Pronghorn Avenue. So we'll get into that. The proposed rezoning to agriculture residential will not be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. This development conforms well with the agricultural and residential mix in the area. It is designed with open space to preserve the most densely treed portion of the property, and the addition of this open space with trails has the ability to benefit residents of this neighborhood. Elbert County planning staff recommend to the Planning Commission to recommend approval for the Phantom Creek rezoning P-2023-001 00039. And we find the following. The proposal is in general conformance with the comprehensive plan. The proposal meets the criteria for approval in Elbert County zoning regulations. The proposal is compatible with existing and allowable land uses in the surrounding area. Number 4, the proposal will not result in significant impact to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents and landowners of the surrounding area. So with these findings, planning staff finds that the rezoning request meets the intent and goals of the zoning regulations and the comprehensive plan while reasonably addressing site-specific concerns. So there are just standard conditions on this rezone request. There are no additional ones than these seen. That the applicant will remove the public hearing sign within 7 days of a decision by the Board of County Commissioners. The rezoning shall not become effective until all fees are paid, all conditions of approval are met, and exhibits are recorded, and that recordation of all appropriate documentation to occur within 180 days of the Board of County Commissioners' approval. So this is my presentation for the rezone, and we can go straight into the preliminary plat presentation, or we can have a moment between. It's your decision.
I actually like the idea of going directly into the plat presentation,
Okay.
because I think we'd end up repeating a lot of questions.
Yeah, I think
a lot
so.
of comments from the citizens, so let's just jump right in.
Sounds good. So I'll just pull up this second presentation. Bear with me. All right, and here we go for Phantom Creek preliminary plat. This is case number P-2023-00040. Again, a lot of these details are going to be the same, so I'll try to go pretty quickly over the similar stuff. So this request is for a preliminary plat, and the preliminary plat will be to subdivide 126 acres into 10 lots with approximately 28 acres of open space along a dry creek bed. The location is 39010 County Road 21 and 39622 County Road 21, Elizabeth, Colorado 80107. Again, the applicant and owner is Mike Brownson, Phantom Creek Development, LLC. And this process followed a very similar track, and the rezone and preliminary plat were submitted at the same time, deemed complete at the same time. So again, we know the location here in the western quadrant, northwestern area of the county, about 5 miles north of Elizabeth, along County Road 21. Here is the subject property again, and the surrounding zoning. As you can see, Foxtail Acres just to the north with 35-acre lots, subdivision, Miller Ranch there nearby, right now undeveloped, and then the 4 to 5 acre parcels just to the south of the property. Same thing for the aerial map. Here we have a slightly different view of the parcel, and you can see here County Road 21 especially, and Pronghorn, which I'll highlight at the top, and then down here, this driveway will serve one of the lots, and a private drive will serve the other lot down there. And in the center, you see the more heavily treed area. So here again is a closer view of Pronghorn Avenue, and we had somebody from our Public Works Road and Bridge Department go out there and calculate the distance from County Road 21 to Phantom Creek Circle, and that's about 708 feet, 711 feet, right in that ballpark, you know, give or take a few feet on either side. Here's the view from the south with this tree-lined private driveway. This will serve one of the lots with the existing residence and outbuilding, and then there will be one other private driveway to serve this lot, and then this private drive also serves the larger 35-acre parcel that I will come to here. So here's a view of the preliminary plat that we came to after a few iterations. You see in the middle here, this is an open space section. This preliminary plat will be contingent on the rezone from agriculture to agriculture residential. We have 10-acre lots. There are 4 lots with slightly less than 10 acres, and this 10% variation is something we allow for in our code. It's to create more uniform lot shape. We wanted to have clear borders on the open space and not have very jagged borders. So that is why there's a few lots with slightly less than 10 acres. Access through Pronghorn Avenue will be for 8 of the lots. Again, 9 of the 10 lots have no existing structures, and we have this 28-acre open space that bisects the development there. So here are some key notes on site access. Again, the northern 8 lots would be accessed from Pronghorn Avenue, connecting to County Road 21. Phantom Creek Circle would begin about 710 feet from Pronghorn, so about 1/8 of a mile shared there between Pronghorn and this proposed Phantom Creek Circle. And there's been various proposed solutions for the Pronghorn Avenue maintenance, and I'll get into some of these in a second. There's also additional utility easements for core shown on the plat, and again, the southern 2 lots would have separate private driveways. So here are some key notes for Pronghorn Avenue. Here's a look at, you'd be turning from County Road 21 into Pronghorn. And there's a solution that our Road and Bridge Department brought to us. They are not involved in the decision-making because it is a private road here. But one was to make the second access on Phantom Creek Circle a gated access. So that's the eastern access. So that's one solution to minimize the development's impact on the existing road. Again, the distance from County Road 21 to the primary access to this development is about 708 feet. Now, there's got to be some agreement on this section of road. And Road and Bridge came with a few different ideas for us. They could share the cost of paving. The subdivider could maintain this section exclusively, or there could be to share the cost between the users of the road. The aprons will have to be paved for this development. That's something Road and Bridge has told us. And no major adjustments are needed for Pronghorn. It's about 23 feet, 6 inches wide, and this was close enough to 24 feet that Public Works had no issues with the existing road. So again, went through referral also, and the bulk of the referral for this project was with engineering and a drainage and erosion plan. So each lot will have to have individual drainage plan, and that's been engineered. Each one will have to have stormwater detention on the lot to mitigate any stormwater impacts from additional impervious surfaces. This also went through the basic referrals. Colorado Department of Transportation has no comment because it's not a state road. State Geological Survey had no issue. Colorado Parks and Wildlife mentioned the benefit of keeping that large 35-acre lot in addition to the open space, and like the idea of wildlife-friendly fencing. Obviously, with increased development, there will be continued habitat fragmentation, but that's something that will happen with these developments. Elbert County Engineer Kimley Horn reviewed the drainage and erosion and construction documents, and that's really what has taken the most time in this review process. It started out in June, and then through 3 to 4 different reviews, they finished reviewing, I believe, in late November, December. So there was quite a few back and forth comments between the engineer and the applicant, Mike Brownson. So for plat approval criteria, there are these criteria, A through E, 5, for all subdivision requests. And now, something we need to take in mind is that this is a preliminary plat, so for the final plat, the county will require a subdivision improvement agreement to make sure that all infrastructure is put into the county standards before any development can take place. So that's just something of note here. But the Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners are to consider these 5 criteria for the review of this application. So A, whether the subdivider has provided evidence that the provision has been made for a water supply that is sufficient in terms of quantity, dependability, and quality to provide a water supply in accordance with all applicable state laws and local regulations, including Elbert County subdivision regulations. So as you all know, in Elbert County, we require a 300-year water supply versus the state's 100-year water supply. So it's 3 times as strict. So basically, you get the state's number and you divide by 3 for Elbert County. The applicant will be required to re-permit 2 existing wells for his property, and then they came to the decision that the applicant has a sufficient water supply to support the subdivision. B, whether the subdivider has provided evidence to establish that if a public sewage disposal system is proposed, provision has been made for such system, and if other methods of sewage disposal are proposed, evidence that such systems will comply with state and local laws and regulations, which are in effect at the time of submission of the preliminary plat in this case. So there will be no central sewer system here. Each lot will need an individual septic system or potentially some other recommended system that has to be approved by Elbert County Public Health, and that will be submitted at the time of lot development. And one feature that I think is important to note is with individual wells and septic, the smallest lot division size is 10 acres. So I know there was concern that these lots would get further subdivided with individual wells and septic. That would not be allowed in the county. C, whether the subdivider has provided evidence to show that all areas of the proposed subdivision which may involve soil or topographical conditions presenting hazards or requiring special precautions have been identified by the subdivider, and that the proposed uses of these areas are compatible with such conditions. So this did go through several reviews for drainage and erosion. There are plans in place for detention ponds on each lot with the allotted square footage depending on the lot. There's also a decommissioned mine there, gravel mine, and the state will be notified for that. I think has been, but will definitely be for the final plat. It's a very small gravel mine there. D, whether the application is following the requirements of the zoning and subdivision regulations. And for this, the applicant did adequately address all concerns regarding compliance with zoning and subdivision regulations, respectively. And I'll go over a few goals from the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. Community resources goal, water, sewer, and waste. New development shall conform to state laws covering domestic water supply and septic. Residential development, Elbert County supports residential development by encouraging a range of lot sizes and residential densities associated with available roads and infrastructure, and by encouraging the designation of open space and the preservation of areas of visual, historic, and natural consequence. Policy RD1, new residential development should cover all costs of on and off-site roads and utilities required to meet the associated demands of that development. Natural resources topic, area goal, new development should minimize negative impacts to adjacent agricultural lands and designated open space. And then a goal for forestry and noxious weed management. Significant stands of trees and shrubs identified during the land review process should be preserved and maintained in concert with good forest management practices. And improvements should be located to minimize the removal of vegetation. Here, I think the developer did a good job trying to keep all of the treed areas and designate that as open space instead of trying to develop amongst the trees. I know that's often very attractive to do, but in this case, that's the open space designated here. And then wildlife policy, the county should continue to include Colorado Parks and Wildlife as a referral agency. That was done here. So that's why we believe that the application is generally consistent with the intent of and goals of the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. So our findings for the preliminary plat, the Planning Department recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval for the Phantom Creek preliminary plat, P-2023-00040, and to authorize a minor variation to the lot size, less than a 10% variation, and this is subject to the following conditions. The applicant will be required to remove the public hearing sign within 7 days. The rezoning shall not become effective until fees are paid. Other conditions of approval are met and exhibits are recorded, and recordation of all appropriate documentation to occur within 180 days of Board of County Commissioner approval. And number 4, to come to an agreement for the Pronghorn Avenue Road maintenance. So thank you for your time here. My name is Danny, planner here for Elbert County. This was the Phantom Creek preliminary plat, case P-2023-00040. Here's a look at the preliminary plat, and I'll show one more that Mike wanted to show that highlights the open space and the lots in a different view, an aerial view here. And that concludes my presentation. Thanks.
Thanks, Danny. Appreciate that. Yeah, please do leave this slide up. At this point, I'd like the applicant to have an opportunity to speak. Come up, state your name, and please proceed.
I'd especially like to thank Danny and community development. They've been really great to work with. They've helped me a lot with understanding all of the requirements and making sure I got this straight. But a little bit about myself and the property. So I've lived in Elbert County for 36 years now. We started out in Sun Country Meadows, my wife and I, with a 2-year-old kid. We had twins there. We've raised the kids. Now, we bought the ranch back in 1995. At that time, it was one of the properties of Bob Miller. Bob Miller, that was a homesteading family. He was the grandson of one of the original residents of Elbert County, back when Elbert County, I believe, used to extend all the way out to the Kansas line. And anyway, he was basically getting that retirement age and selling off some of the excess land he had, and I feel very lucky. My wife was driving down 21 one day and saw a for sale sign, and well, they say the rest is history. And actually, I purchased the property. I shared it with my father, so we each had separate parcels. And my father is still very much an important part of the development. He's 90 years old. It was a little late for him to come to this hearing, so I hope he'll be able to make it to the commissioner's hearing. But we built a new house on the property and moved in 1997. We raised the kids. I plan on staying in that parcel for as long as I am physically able to. So this is not a case of someone, coming in from the city or from out of state just looking to make a quick buck and, off of Elbert County. I live here. I'm going to live here. I love this place. And I think some of that has led me to the choices that I've made in terms of this development. So for the longest time, we raised and trained, bred horses there. Well, and the recession of 2008 kind of killed the horse industry, so we got out of it then and sold off all of our stock, or actually gave away the last few. And then we've been ranging cattle there for the last few, since then. I was never planning to subdivide. We figured we just keep it. They'd bury us in a pine box in the place. But, times change and circumstances change. So, part of this, what am I going to do with the space? My dad's obviously not enjoying it anymore. He's living in a retirement apartment in town. So, like I said, things change. So I started thinking about this about 3 to 4 years ago and kind of coming up with the ideas of, what would fit in the neighborhood, what fits with the regulations. And this basically is the result of that. Obviously with some fine tuning after working with Danny and community development and the engineers, the surveyor and all that. So, I had a number of goals. For one, goal was to create a development that really blended well with the surrounding neighborhoods. So that's why we chose, one of the reasons we chose these 10-acre lots. The other thing, I wanted to provide a common space. It's a beautiful part of the country, and I'd like to be able to share that. So having my 35-acre lot there that you see with the buildings and the driveway going, then the open space. We've got antelope, deer, raccoons, all the usual wildlife coming through. But also wanted to be sensitive to the water demands and the impact on the neighborhoods. So that was another thing, these 10-acre lots. There's a lot of water under these lots. That's been shown by the water surveys, but I understand as well that it's still a finite amount. Okay, when it runs out, and how the neighbors drilling wells, that all impacts us. So that was another consideration in my planning. And basically with this plan, I believe that my wife and I have covered the bases. We've also, of course, listened to community input during the community meeting, and we've made some changes and recommendations. I've been working with the folks at Community Development and Public Works to kind of do our best to resolve these things. One of the things that came up during the community meeting was concerns over the shared road. Pronghorn is a non-exclusive easement. So, we've got deeds from the neighboring properties. The properties, the deed, my property, all show that as a non-exclusive easement. But there is a concern about maintenance. So my solution is going to be pretty simple. Right now, we've got Arnold Acres and Foxtail Farms are two developments that are adjacent to me that utilize that road. When those developments were done, there was no requirement to create a road maintenance agreement. So at present, unless something has changed recently, those two HOAs are effectively inoperable. There's really no road maintenance agreement. It's just folks on 35s and 40s that, have a sense of community. So since there's no one to come to agreement with, other than, I believe, is it 11 or 12 parcels that use that road, my proposal is simply just to take the first section of Pronghorn and build that into the road maintenance agreement for Phantom Creek Circle. So that way we take 100% responsibility for maintenance and county compliance with all of the road that will be used by the development. And with that, I thank you and look forward to the community comments.
Thank you, Mr. Bronson. Appreciate that. At this point, we're going to open the floor up for community comments. Please do a couple things for me. One, please come up to the stand, state your name, your address. You will be limited to 3 minutes, so do keep your comments brief. Try not to repeat what other people have said. And if you have questions, please direct them to the Planning Commission, and we will note your questions, and we will then take care of those one by one as we go through it. And when we have a rebut with the applicant, and then we will take on a board-only discussion after that. With that, I'd like to open up the floor for public comments. And I think not everybody is signed in, but
Oh, okay. That's all right. I just need to give you this list.
yeah. And so Keith Long, you're up first.
Mike's on, I got a green light, so am I good to go?
You're good to go.
Good evening, my name's Keith Long. I live at 5511 Pronghorn Avenue with my wife. So if you look at it, right north of Lot 9 is where we live. We bought that place in '98 and moved in, love it, it's great. We have some concerns. We met as a homeowners group on Sunday. I know we didn't get into your docket, but we gave a list of questions, concerns. Some of those have been rectified because we just got everything from the county on Friday. There's a couple things though. When I met Mr. Bronson's dad back in 1998, I asked him if they'd be willing to help out with any of the road maintenance, and they were adamantly no. We talked to Mr. Bronson again. He would not do anything. There's a trust issue right now, and I'll just be very frank with everybody. When you look at it, do we have a road maintenance agreement? No, we don't. We moved out here, everything was handshake. Most of the people living on our road are here. We have people who plow it. If it needs road base, we do that collectively. It's all a handshake. We've never had an issue. The concern is, when we moved in, there was a gate that was put in, and then if you look at Lot 10, the old mine, the sheriff's department shot for years in there, probably 100, 200,000 rounds, I'm guessing. There's a lead issue right there with the mine. I talked to Jay Walp with the county, and Jay is the road maintenance gentleman. He came out. So some of the things, if you look between Lot 8 and 9, they want a secondary access egress. My background is I've been a fire chief for 42 years, just retired. So if you remember the Marshall Fire up in Superior, that was mine. By making that and limiting the access egress, it'd be a lot cheaper for Mr. Bronson to get that up to county specs. Our concern is on the road specifically, and when I read everything that came out of the county, when they did their traffic count, they did it off his property. They didn't do it off 21, or excuse me, off Pronghorn. We've had issues in the past with a commercial business up on top that is no longer there, did a lot of damage to the road. So are we snake bit? Yeah, we are. I'm going to go through some of the questions that we supplied to everybody, and I apologize.
As a record, hang on, Van. Just as a note, we have your questions, they came in late. They will be included in our packet moving forward, so they will be considered as we move into the next phase of this. So you don't need to go through all your questions.
Okay, and it
You
said
have
I had
time
30 seconds, sir.
Van?
No.
He's got time left.
So I'll just read you last paragraph that, with our concerns. We're reluctant to trust Phantom Creek owners requesting the county require road maintenance agreement. We'd like it to be in place prior to any planning or anything goes on. We question the reasons the Phantom Creek is being used as an access point and it's not coming off 21. Other than that, I appreciate everybody's time. Hope you get to look at the questions. I think they're very valuable. Again, a lot of them have been answered. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Next up, we have Brett McTaggart, I believe. And correct me if I got your name wrong.
You did. There's not many Barts, like Bart Greer. Bart.
Bart.
Bart McTaggart, 39600 Foxtrot Circle. How y'all doing? So, I don't know who you've talked to in regards to the road and the road maintenance. I do the majority of it, as well as Bill Hammond and some others. And you guys, we have asked you, and
Bart, can you address to the Planning Commission, please? Thank you.
appreciate that. Here's the thing, I own an environmental services company. Keith just mentioned that there are some environmental concerns that we have, such as the water runoff, okay? Where is that water gonna go? I have pictures of the flooding that took place in that lot. This is lot 9 and 10, where those would proposed be. And you can see the amount of water from that rain that took out 13 as well. Now, the additional is that if that hill side was used, then my question is going to be, has a phase 1 or phase 2 environmental assessment been done? Because there's lead bullets in that soil, okay? A lot of lead bullets in that soil. Before any soil gets moved, CDPHE is going to be asking some questions, because if you regrade that area and you bring that to the surface and then you spread it around that area, you're spreading contamination. And contaminants where kids that then could be out playing in the yards of these lots could be negatively impacted. And there's severe liabilities associated with that. Typically, since we know there is lead that has been shot into the hill, then that requires a phase 2 environmental assessment be conducted. So before any surface work gets done, I would encourage to get with CDPHE and other environmental professionals to look at the impact that that's going to have. And especially in light of the flooding and the water runoff and where that water is going to go. As you can see from the aerial views that I took, I am a Part 107 certified drone pilot. So again, I take a look at these things, and I have a thermal imaging camera as well with that drone to take a look at the effects that that had. And so I have some good data. I also did some road traffic studies on Pronghorn. And again, the wear and tear as put on that road in talking to Road and Bridge, and what would deem it as considered to be
Pardon me, Vice
unmaintainable.
Chair, that's 3 minutes.
Please wrap up.
Okay. I would, before you just rubber stamp this and approve, I would ask that you take a look at the environmental impacts in order, before approval, a phase 2 environmental impact assessment. Thank you.
Next up is Art Riddell.
Thank you. My name is Art Rydell, 39705 Foxtrot Circle. You do have our questions, and thank you for your consideration accepting them, even though I understand we were on the wire of the deadline for getting them in. So I won't refer to any of that or repeat anything that Keith and Bart covered. Just to touch on a couple of things. And forgive me, I didn't catch your name. Mr. Klebanner, am I pronouncing that correctly? Mr. Klebanner commented about compatibility with the neighborhood and commented on the 4 and 5 acre lots to the south. I will note that that is to the south, and to the north, if you look at this picture and the larger scale picture between here and all the way up to Singing Hills Road, 166, they're all much larger lots, 35 acres or larger. Further, again, if you look at the maps, there's a visual buffer to the south, which is the tree line, but there is no visual buffer to the north. We have a wonderful viewscape currently looking south, all of us to the north, and instead we would be, when this goes through, looking at relative to our neighborhood, a significant development to the south, which would be a substantial impact. So I think this is in the list of questions, but something I particularly stress is maybe it would cost one lot, so it could only be 9 instead of 10 after, redrawing the lines. But could there be a visual buffer created on the north side with some landscaping, some trees planted and so forth, which would at least give us some minimization of the impact to the north? And I know there are issues with the Brownsons, but I also know they've considered a number of things that we've had as input. So I would hope that they would further consider that, and the Planning Commission would ask them to give further consideration to those questions. Excuse me, lose my own notes. Oh, and lastly, when I looked at, and this was new, because, also one further comment. When we had the community meeting, the Brownsons commented to me, Mike commented to me personally, suggested that I look at some of the developments to the south, which he said were pretty nice, and I actually have done that since then. But I note that those developments are predominantly set into trees, whereas this one is entirely open space with no visual buffering. Okay, and then thirdly, lastly, there was been mentioned previously the open space, and when we had the community meeting, Mike stressed that those of us bordering on Pronghorn to the north would have access to that open space, but I didn't see on the plat map how we would have any access. So that's a question I have.
Pardon me, Vice Chair.
I'm done. This question is there any assurance that we would be somehow, through a trail or otherwise, get access to that open space, or was that something that was forgotten along the way? So thank you for this time. Thank you for your consideration.
Thanks, Mr. Rydell. Appreciate it. And next is Greg Hines.
If you go back to the plat picture, the name is Greg Hines, 5113 Pronghorn Avenue. I am directly north of the two northwesternmost Lot 3 and Lot 10. If I repeat anything that's been said, I'm really not going to apologize, because I think in a case like this, a lot of things deserve to be repeated. Number one, it was stated that the area will blend, and as has been said, everything to the north is 35-acre tracts. 10 acres doesn't necessarily blend with 35 acres. That's a big difference in plot size. Number two, the open space area in green here. Now, I'm directly to the north, and I've watched several trees die over the last couple of years and have not been taken out. Anybody who lives in this area with any type of the older growth ponderosa pine trees knows we are fighting beetles left and right. So I want to know who's going to maintain that, and when a tree dies, you've got to get them out immediately. And I don't see that being done currently, and I'm questioning whether it will be done once it's a community open space. He mentioned that a few of the lots are less than 10 acres now. Are we going to fudge that, since the state regulations are no personal wells on a plot size less than 10 acres? I'm curious if that number's just going to be kind of fudged in case of expediting approval of this. Not only are all the surrounding things to the west, east, and north 35-acre parcels, from what I can see, every one of the houses in there are custom-built homes, and they're nice, and they're probably pretty damn expensive. I think mine is. I want to know who the developer's going to be developing these lots, and are we going to see much smaller houses that are going to decrease our property values in the surrounding areas? That's all I've got. I'll quit for now.
Thank you, appreciate it. We still have the floor open for anybody else that would like to make a comment. If you'll raise your hand, I'll point you out. Just come to the stand and state your name, address, and we'll hear you. Anybody else? Going once? All right, sounds like we've had our commentary. Mr. Brownson, would you like to rebut any of the statements that were made?
Yeah, no, I appreciated the feedback and the comments. You know, we've always taken that into account. I don't know, do I need to repeat name, address? No. Right, okay, good. I just want to make sure I've got things straight. A little correction. The first time we were asked to assist with road maintenance, we were asked to contribute $250 just for grading and basic maintenance. I did pay that. I was resistant to, I would agree. And then I said, because we had no intention of utilizing the road, I really didn't feel it was our place to contribute to the maintenance. But as I said in our opening, things change. So I understand that. And hopefully, our hope is to resolve these issues. Because once there's a road maintenance agreement, as I understand, there's a certain level of enforcement of road maintenance and road conditions that Public Works has the ability to provide. I don't know what level of enforcement, but I remember hearing something in there about having to maintain it to county standards. So that would be fully my intent. But I understand I understand the neighbors' concerns. And that's why, I approached the plan the way I did. So there would be no impact to no financial impact, no maintenance impact if I take over maintenance of that section. And I have to maintain Fenton Creek Circle as well to county standards. So to me, it's a no-brainer. The gun range issue is a very good point. And yes, the gravel pit had been used as a gun range. I think there might be a little bit of exaggeration in hundreds of thousands of rounds. So I had a friend who used that gun range teaching close-in weapons, and I think he worked with either Kiowa PD, maybe once or twice. So in all, to the best of my knowledge, we've had that gun range. Well, first, there hadn't been a bullet fired in there probably in 10 years, with maybe one exception. I had my nephew come out with some friends for just a couple of hours. I don't use it. And the area where the shots have taken basically were created with tires to create a back wall. So any contamination is actually pretty well contained. I brought a laser pointer. So there's a spot right there. A lot of shaking. And then there's another one right there where there's been a tire back wall created. So we're not looking at massive amounts or massive areas of lead. And I figure in all, there's probably used 20, maybe 30 times. So it's not like a commercial gun range. What is the name of the one out east that it's been used as a gun range? Probably hundreds of thousands of bullets in the soil.
Ben Lohman.
Yeah, Ben Lohman, thank you. I've got a friend that has membership there, and he's active there. And, we're not looking at that type of a situation. So anyhow, we did look at an alternate drive entrance to see if we could. The challenge we have is right here, we've got, who is it? Mr. Taggart, I believe, mentioned the record rains that we had last year. And those dry creek beds do flow at times. So there's a number of things that I've considered there. For example, like this would be on lot 3. That obviously would be a no-build zone. So I do plan on creating some building envelopes. Now, I realize that doesn't come up until final plat. So at this point, the community would not know my plans. But I plan on creating no-build zones along the back of those lots and the back of these lots so that it minimizes the impact of the neighborhood. You can't build here because that's a gravel pit, so that's already a covered area. I could easily build a no-build zone so that they would have to build in the front half. So that was already in my plans. In fact, it's in the draft covenants as well. I believe in the covenants I put it in there that the building shall be on the front 50%. But since then, I'm also thinking maybe we should do it as building envelopes so that they're recorded as well, and that makes it more enforceable going forward. Okay, let's see, what else? So I believe having these no-build zones and the buffers, it helps create that buffer. The other thing you notice here, this driveway is lined with a lot of trees. My dad actually dug those trees up by hand from the property where they were too thick and planted those, and we've had a drip system on them for, 20, 25 years. Right now, they're too dense. So one of the things I plan on doing is anyone that buys a lot will get several trees as part of just because. Because there are very few trees out here, and trees are nice. We've got these great ponderosa pines. We have, the 20, 25-year-old trees here that are very movable, and they'll grow up well. So I do plan on making those available to lot purchasers. That's right. And then my wife reminded me, I actually have another tree farm right here with much younger trees right now. I started that about 5 years ago. Regarding access to open space, again, the preliminary plat didn't really show all this. That'll show up in the final plat. I have trail easements. This lot line and this lot line include a 20-foot trail easement. And per the county requirements, they're looking for a 10-foot gravel pave or a pathway. So I've already committed to providing gravel pathways here and here. And additionally, we're working through the possibility for folks that are not in or adjacent to the neighborhood that might be driving in from elsewhere to provide a parking area here off of the existing 60-foot easement for access to the open space. Because I do believe in making that available. The other thing I've done is I created a 20-foot easement along the backside of my property that hooks up to Miller Ranch PUD. They have an extensive trail plan, and if that development ever gets built, then the lot owners here for both Arnold Acres and Foxtail Farms, they'll see small lots built right up next to them. Providing that access to the open space, I thought, was also a benefit to the community. So this is not just about the 10 lots. It's about Elbert County and the community. Let's see. And then, of course, in the covenants, we're going to be addressing maintenance. So, of course, the road maintenance agreement will be part of the covenants. The other thing, of course, is open space maintenance. I do plan on having basically a startup or an assessment at each lot sale toward that in order to get the bankroll started. I've also reached out to CSU Extension I'm still waiting for a reply there regarding the, obviously, I mean, you drive down 21, there's a lot of dead trees. And we have had some of our own, and it's not mountain pine beetle, and I don't know if it's the Sawyer beetle bringing up pine wilt nematode or something else. So my plan there actually, my immediate plan, if I can get a response from the Extension Service and figure out what beetle is there, then the best control method right now, because unfortunately by the time you see the trees brown, that batch of beetles has already flown off. Now if you see sap holes, great, you can go after it. But the type of beetles that we've had predominantly now, they don't leave all these major sap holes like the mountain pine beetles do. The next thing, the only time you know you have an infestation is when the trees are just basically, they're clearly dying. And like I said, that happens usually the fall after the beetles fly off. So cutting those dead trees down at this point really doesn't accomplish anything. So the best solution I've found actually is bait, is you hang these bait traps throughout the forest and throughout the areas where they're going to enter. I've already done research into that, and that I think is our best option. But again, I got to find out what beetle this is. So I believe that addressed all of the comments that I made note of. So thank you.
Brownson. At this point, the public hearing is closed and the applicant rebuttal is closed. And we will now move into board-only discussion. You may have to stand back up, Mr. Bronson, just to be fair. We'll start with you, Van. Please turn on your mic. Mike? Thanks.
In reading through your application and all the documentation that was with it, it's fairly clear that you'll be responsible for maintenance of the road of Pronghorn. So that resolves that issue.
Up to the first entrance.
Right, yeah, exactly. You're
Yes.
not going to be responsible for the whole thing, but you're going to be responsible for that.
Up to the first entrance, including adding the asphalt apron.
Yeah, right. And then
Totally
you
on
have
me.
to pave that? I saw something about paving it or,
Just the apron.
I'm sorry,
Just an apron to the
an apron, oh, you paved
to
the
the
apron,
edge
right.
of the county easement.
Exactly, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the beetle, okay, you might want to check with the fire department in Elizabeth. They've been very active in making sure that we get rid of the trees that are, so if you might want to talk to them about some of the things they've gone through, because where I live, we've been offered some pretty good help in terms of, because I live right in the forest itself too.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, but they've been very active, so you might want to talk to them. Okay. On cleaning up the lead, okay, I think that's something you do need to do.
Yep.
So if you can, it doesn't appear to be that it's that serious, but it still would help the neighbors, so,
Understood.
okay, I'm done.
Okay, thanks. John? I have no question. None? Okay, Robert?
Yeah, I have a few questions. So I just want to make sure I'm clear. So you're only going to be maintaining the road from the westerly entrance on Pronghorn, not from the easterly entrance?
There's only a single entrance. Oh, the easterly entrance of
Can you point it
Phantom
to-
Creek Circle.
Can you point to it with your pointer and show us what you're talking about here?
Absolutely.
Danny got it. Danny's got it.
Okay, this entrance. And then we're talking about a emergency, or a fire gate, whatever that's called here. So that,
So that's forcing
So-
all the lot owners to go out the more westerly entrance. Okay.
yes,
And then, am I assuming correctly that lot 10 is not a sellable lot based upon the gravel pit?
no, actually, there's this area, I realize we have setbacks as well. I did look at that, and because right now there's some stakes out, I've made some marks myself. And no, it is a sellable lot.
It is a sellable lot, so it will have to go through reclamation to be able to sell it, correct?
In what way?
Well, it's a gravel pit, so you're gonna have to reclaim it somehow to make it sellable.
Oh, that was a county gravel pit. The county already reclaimed it.
Okay, all right, so all that's left is the
Is a hole.
hole with the backstops for the existing or retired gun range.
Correct.
Okay. All right, so I do agree with Van that, a proper assessment. Now, is that something that we get involved with, the county itself?
Yeah, well, I think as more information comes to light, I wasn't aware of the gun range, so I think it'll definitely be referred to Colorado Public Health and Environment to look at, and we'll have to see what is there, in terms of lead contamination.
Right. So a proper study should be done, and that should be, maybe part of the stipulation for either approval or disapproval.
Yeah, I'd like to add that as a condition as well.
Yeah, a condition. So if you can make that note, Danny. There was a mention in both Danny's presentation, and I can't remember if you said something about existing wells on the property, but the idea is based upon the 10-acre rule or the fudging of the 10-acre rule by a small percentage. Each lot will be punching a well, correct?
That is correct, except for Lot 2, which has an existing house and well.
Okay.
And that's actually, right now, the original property description that house was on was different. Now that we've made some rearrangements, and obviously once the subdivision is approved and these are recorded,
Right.
then of course the descriptions that go with those well permits need to be updated.
Okay, all right. And is the open 35 acres to be still titled and deeded to Lot 2, or is that something going to be used in the future for something else?
No, that is a separate property owned by my wife and I. So there may have actually been a little error, because the 39622 is not part of the development. That is a 35-acre parcel. It's separate.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with the development.
Right. Okay.
Other than more of the land used to be under, a single deed.
Right, correct. So I was just wondering what the disposition is associated with that 35 acres. It's not going to be a future part or anything else. It's just simply a piece of land that is owned by you and your wife.
Correct.
I agree with Van. You're going to get nothing from the extension office regarding your tree problem. I would highly suggest that you contact the fire department. They'll give you some ideas, including, unfortunately, at the proper time of year to spray those trees. It's just pyrethrin is the only thing that will help, mitigate, that particular situation. But, ideally, from a wildfire perspective, they got to get out of there.
Okay.
Road maintenance, small variance on the lot sizes. To the point of one of the speakers, one of the public comments made about the runoff. Obviously, the spring was an unusual circumstance for all of Elbert County, but it does bring to light the kind of impact that it can have on. And so when you say that you're going to be creating building envelopes, are you going to take in consideration that great picture that he had associated with some of the standing water situation within, was it lot 4?
Lot 10.
Oh, lot 10, 3, and 4. Obviously I haven't been on site to see what the grade is like, but obviously it was an unusual circumstance. Is there going to be an issue with your lot envelopes based upon what you experienced this spring?
No.
No?
No. In fact, I think, what was it, about 20-some years ago? The water flowed heavily enough. There's two 30 or 36-inch culverts under here. It backed up and flew over County Road 21. So I'm well aware of what can happen. We've lived out there for, what I said, 27 years.
Right.
So we've seen it all. And that has been taken into account. Thank you.
And that will be, would that have to be duly noted in a final plat?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, all right. Do we have to stipulate for that?
I don't think we have to stipulate for it, but we will definitely have to keep an eye on it.
Okay, all right. Phase one, fire mill, trail access. All right, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you for your light commentary, Mr. Politic.
Yeah.
So, Eric?
Yeah, looking through what wasn't discussed up here, but in the packet, there's mention of an association to be formed.
Yes.
You know, $1,000 per lot owner to put into the association. Will the association be part of the, and I don't, this term fire flow, about how you're gonna mitigate any fires, meaning there's no hydrants being put in, but each land, there's an option that says, hey, each plot owner can put $1,040 for the ability for the fire department to come out to do fire, to take care of any fires. I'm not sure how that's, you know, enforced from the county for the association to take care of fire.
Well, I guess I'm trying to make sure I understand. My understanding, the fire department has their own assessment at the time of a house is permitted for fire, basically for funding the added cost to the fire districts to support the additional homes. So there will be an assessment by the fire department at that time.
Okay, so thank you, because I think if that hasn't been done, you said at said time, I'm looking at the fire service water supply that states a cistern or paying money to, you know, pay ahead to compensate when or if there should be a fire, so.
And now that I understand that a little better, that actually, obviously we've been in touch with the Elizabeth Fire District and got the information back from them, what their current fee rate is, how they structure that. And they did mention that about 1.5 miles north of this point is a fire station with a cistern. I think 2.5 miles south of this is another large cistern. So they didn't feel that an on-site cistern was required, but that they would have an assessment with each house at the time of permitting.
Okay, no, fair enough. And we did cover, and Bart, thank you, because we've all hit upon it. And I believe that assessment, Bart, is a phase 2 environmental impact assessment, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Danny, we've got that down. Okay.
I think, if I may add, unless we know what a phase 2 is, I'm not sure that would be appropriate to request at this time. I think we need some additional information and research from a non-biased source to get the correct assessment.
Yeah, we'll take that off as part of the next round. And Danny will research and bring that back into this conversation for a final plot conversation.
Perfect.
We should have those elements in play as we go forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, I'm good.
Okay, perfect. I just have a couple quick questions. Mine are pretty easy. In your understanding, what is a wildlife friendly fence?
Yes. Actually, the Division of Wildlife, Colorado Division of Wildlife, had some really good guideline that I would make part of an introduction letter. I've already put together an introduction letter, kind of welcoming, and you know the little of the history and all that. But I'm sorry, to answer your question, it had to do with basically the different types of fencing and making sure that there's enough gap and or that the height is not too high to impede wildlife movement. In a nutshell, that's probably the simplest way to put it, is fencing that does not impede wildlife movement.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you had that in mind as you were going forward, so thank you for that.
And I wish I had that around my house too. Deer in my front yard, backyard every day.
Yeah. Obviously, we have a lot of deer. The antelope hang out up here a lot. Antelope don't go over fences.
They go through them.
They go through them, which one of the recommendations is to make sure that top gap on the fence, you have a visibility line and then you've got enough space. But yeah, I can show you a number of fences that I need to go back and actually tighten and repair because I didn't know about wildlife-friendly fences when I fenced this place off all with smooth twists and T-poles.
Great. My next question is for Danny. Is the 35 acres considered to be part of the rezone?
The 35 acres is separate. It's parcel B. They reviewed it with it, but it's not part of the.
Can we mark it on the map so that we can see it next time so we can.
Okay. Yeah, it's right in here.
I know kind of where it lands. I just kind of want to see it drawn on the paper.
Because the zoning didn't change, it was zoned ag at 35, that piece is still zoned ag, we just changed the boundaries. So there's a survey done and
I'm okay
recorded.
with it. I'm just saying, I want to see the picture, like
here's
that, maybe on the other drawing as well.
This is the official preliminary plat. It marks it as parcel B. So it's not a part of the development, but it is here, kind of shown. Yeah. Is that kind of what you're looking for?
Yeah,
okay.
That's what I'm looking for. Thank you. And then the open space segment that's there, I have two questions there. One for you, Danny. Is that dry creek or creek area considered to be a flood zone?
It's not floodplain, no. It's just
That's kind of a different question.
more of a flow area, historic creek bed, but no, it's not a FEMA floodplain.
Okay. And because I know that in my subdivision, I have the same kind of thing that basically they told me at the beginning that it would only take a 100-year flood before we get to water. And it's been a 100-year flood twice now, maybe 3 times. So
We actually had 5 flows last spring.
I'm not surprised at all.
It was a record. And it was 14 years prior that we had another flow.
Right, and so the next question becomes, as you're looking at that space, you've got a homeowners association that you're building for that subdivision area. Is it considering that this open space, which will be open to all, I'm sure, is properly insured?
That is something I understand. I haven't really spent much time looking into that, but I do understand that there will need to be insurance held by the homeowners association and appropriately funded.
Yeah, your $1,000 is seed money for that insurance, just saying, it's not enough.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's my last question. I'd like to move at this point to close the board-only discussion unless anybody else has anything else. Okay? So let's do this in 2 motions, if you don't mind. I'll entertain a motion for the rezone specifically from ag to residential ag.
All right, so that was 39, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I move that we vote on P-2023-00039.
What are we voting on?
The rezone.
That we recommend approve?
Recommend the rezone from ag to ag residential.
We can't do.
With the existing conditions.
Oh, yeah, that's right, with the.
We need to recommend approval with existing conditions. Yeah.
So let's say that in one line.
All right, so I make a motion to recommend approval with existing conditions, the rezoning of this parcel from ag to ag residential, P-2023-00039.
I'll second it.
All approve?
Aye.
Any abstains or denials? Nope. That one's carried, so. The next one is for the replat, and I would like to add on the replat the condition associated with lot number 10 there, which is the, well, I'm gonna screw this up, Bart, but Phase 2 CDPHE review. Phase 2 environmental review.
No need.
Thank you.
That's overkill, probably.
Maybe.
Yeah. That's all right. Go ahead.
We can recommend it.
Yes, we can.
So entertain a motion on that?
I make a motion, we recommend approval with the conditions as stated for 2023-00040. What is it? It's a replat.
And then please note that this is a preliminary plat, and so,
Preliminary.
do we have a second?
Second.
All approved?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion's carried. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time, appreciate the energy. I will entertain a motion to close the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Eric?
Eric?
Robert? All approved?
Aye.
Aye. We're done. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.